Dobry večer to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the GT Ukraine YouTube channel, your one place on YouTube for all things Ukrainian sim racing on Gran Turismo 7. My name is Prototype, and once again, this Thursday night, we're bringing you a race from the Elite Design Endurance Championship. This is Season 1 in 2025, and we're going to be watching race number 4. We're almost at the halfway mark into Season 1. Race 4 of 8. We're at Brands Hatch GP for all of you your track lovers, and the drivers will be using Group 2 cars tonight. This is the first time we're seeing them use Group 2, and with this race we will have completed one round in each group of car. We started out with Group 3, the second race was held in Group 1 machinery, 2 weeks ago we were racing Group 4, and now we're in Group 2. And practice is underway as usual. We still have about 7 minutes to go until qualifying starts, and gives us the perfect opportunity to remind ourselves of the situation in the championship, and also have a look at what are the different cars that our drivers will be racing today. Right, so join me in this little review as we start, obviously, from the back of the pack as usual. We've got a few cars chilling in the pits, including current oh, there he goes. He's just heading out on the track. GTO 250 is in P13 in the championship, and he's racing the Lexus tonight in Group 2. GTO has had a bit of a sluggish start to the season. It's 2 12th finishes, and once he was 13th, rounding out the field. He will want to pick up the results a little bit, especially to help his team, Motion Blur Yellow, who are in the fight for the team championship as it stands at the moment. So that's GTO P13 in the championship, and he'll be racing the Lexus tonight. In P12 is HBoss GT, right ahead of GTO in the practice session right now. HBoss is racing for Goch Omega, the sister team, and so far also not particularly impressive, but I would say that it's just one result that is pulling HBoss down. He finished 13th in round 2. That is his weakest result. Otherwise, he's been a steady contestant in around P7, P8 in most races. Let's see how he does in the Group 2 tonight. He will be racing the Honda NSX. By the way, as I'm doing this overview, we've got 3 cars on display tonight. It's the Lexus that we've seen with GTO, it's the Honda that we see from HBoss, and we will also see the Nissan Group 2 a little later. In P11 in the championship is Mark GT, but he's unfortunately missing tonight's race, so we won't have him on track. We'll be moving on straight to P10 in the championship, and P10 is Luco, who is racing the Nissan that I just referred to, the third of the 3 cars that we have on show in this race. Luco from Goch Alpha is in P10 in the championship. He's also been a steady presence in the midfield, with his best result being a top 5 in the last race in round 3. So Luco will want to improve his situation. He's currently sitting in P10 on 100 points, and on the same number of points as Luco is Flapjack. He's just chilling in the pits for now. Flapjack is representing Taiji2 Motorsport, his own team. He has no teammate, and he will be racing the Honda NSX, and he's just heading out on the track as I speak for a little rundown before qualifying. So Flapjack is in P9. He had a very strong first race, finishing 4th, just one step away from the podium. And since then, he's been languishing in P10 for 2 races in a row. So he will want to turn this around with a strong result tonight. Let's see if it works out for him. Then ahead of him in P8, currently P8 in the practice session, is Vlaiv from Team Motion Blur Orange. Vlaiv will be racing the Lexus tonight. Again, very steady performances from Vlaiv. He finished 7th twice and was 8th once, so a strong presence in the midfield as well. If he finds a bit of pace and can score a good result, that would propel him strongly forward. He's sitting on 104 points at the moment, and that fight in the midfield is incredibly tight. I referred to Luco and Flapjack, who are both on 100 points. Vlaiv is on 104, and then ahead of him is his teammate from Team Motion Blur Orange. It's Gadget. Let me go and find him. There he is in P5 at the moment. He's also racing the Lexus. He's in P7. Again, a very strong performance from Gadget in the first race, where he finished on the podium in P3, but kind of a lackluster performance last time out. He finished 13th in the end. I remember alluding to this. He got damage early on in the race, so he'll be hoping to put that behind him and score well. Just to remind you, out of the 8 races that we have in this season, only 6 contribute to a driver's final result. So even with that one outlier that Gadget had last time, he still has a very strong chance of a good overall performance. He doesn't need to dwell on that result too much and can focus on scoring well tonight. So that's Gadget. He's in P7 in the championship on 112 points, and he'll be driving the Lexus tonight. Now we move to P6 in the championship. Funniest Cowboy, our reigning Tier 2 champion, and promoted obviously for this year. Racing Team Finlanders, he is driving the Nissan tonight. Funniest Cowboy has had a very up and down season. He came second in the second race, and you will probably remember the dramatic finish where him and JiiRabbit were separated by something like a couple of tenths, maybe even less. So that was his best result of the season, but beyond that, he finished 12th in race 1, and then last time out, on track, he was 5th, I believe, but then 2 penalties, contributing to a total of 50 seconds, brought him down all the way to P11. So probably, obviously, a very strong and fast driver, but hasn't had the best of luck so far. We've had the command from our host that the qualifying session will be starting soon, so I need to round this up quickly. Funniest Cowboy is in P6 in the championship on 120 points. Ahead of him is Vox Bacchus, who will be missing the race tonight. He's on 124, and then ahead of him, with a little bit of a gap, is Teovo, who we are watching right now. He's also driving the Nissan tonight, and he's in P4 on 144 points. He was on the podium in P3 in race 2. That was a race dominated by the Finns with a finish 1-2-3. So a good result there. Otherwise, he finished P6 twice, and he was also hit with a penalty last time out, relegating him from P4 to P6. Qualifying has started, but we still have time while the drivers complete their warm-up lap, with Gadget leading the pack once again, as usual, being the host of the session. He gets to be the first car on track. I will round up my overview. In P3 in the championship is Lenz on 152 points. There he is on the track right now, and together with his teammate Cartman, he is racing the Honda NSX tonight. Cartman and Lenz from GT Ukraine in the teams championship are sitting in P1, which they share with Team Motion Blur Yellow. Both teams are on 352 points. And even while this is still early days in the championship, just race 4 out of 8, in my overview, I have to state there is a very obvious fight for the championship, and it's between Cartman in P2 on 200 points and, of course, JiiRabbit in P8. 3 wins in a row, 308 points. It's difficult to imagine, but it's still possible for Cartman to beat JiiRabbit. But to do so, Cartman probably needs to win tonight. JiiRabbit has been in commanding form. 3 wins in a row, 6 wins in a row if you consider the wins he had last time out. He is on a roll. But let's focus on qualifying now. Gadget is leading the pack, and we can join him on board as he rounds out the second sector. He takes this long, swooping left-hander, and now he's onto the back straight. Brands Hatch is a peculiar circuit. It feels wide when you look at it from a spectator's perspective, but it's pretty narrow for driving as he navigates the swooping right-hander. Now, this is a tricky section. I feel that there's a lot of aero on Gadget's car, as the front seems very responsive, and it's very easy for him to turn in, but I don't feel like he's carrying all that much speed. Perhaps this is just me. I can hear the tires screeching, so he's obviously at the limit, but I would think these Group 2 cars, very strongly reliant on aerodynamics, can do better. Let's see what sort of benchmark Gadget will set for us here today. It's a 113.3 from him, and I get the feeling, yep, it's getting beaten straight away as Teoro sets a 113 flat. Cartman comes in with a 112.2, and now Funniest Cowboy is up there with a 112.2. Now that is a strong result. He beats Gadget by more than a second. Oh, OMG, that is quite impressive from Funniest Cowboy. So he's now in P1, Cartman is in P2, Teoro is in P3, as some cars are still completing their laps. Gadget's in P4, Flapjack is 5th, Luco comes in 6th with a 114, then H-Boss beats that and takes away P6, he's on a 113.6. GTO must have had some sort of issue, he's in the pits. Lenz has had a penalty, that explains why he's so low. JiiRabbit is only on an outlap, so I have a strong suspicion that JiiRabbit has had some sort of issue on his first lap. The qualifying session is 15 minutes, so these first runs are probably not going to be the final ones and the best ones for the drivers, as they burn a bit of fuel and the cars get lighter, as Cartman improves to a 112 flat to take away provisional pole, and you can also see how worn his tires are after just a couple of laps. So it is an intense one for tire wear. Tire wear is set to 5x for this race. Fuel is X2. So we expect that it's going to be pretty intense on tire wear, but more about that later. So Cartman has improved, and Funniest Cowboy has improved, as well as Flapjack. That's a very strong result from him. Currently in P3, as more times are flooding in. H-Boss is in 7th now. What is Vlaiv going to do? He's just starting a lap. And where's JiiRabbit? Let's find JiiRabbit. He has just started a lap, so let's join him on board, our current championship leader and the defending champion in Tier 1. JiiRabbit, as I said, performing beautifully this year so far. All 3 races won by JiiRabbit, and he is on pace for provisional pole by just over a 10th. There's a car in front of him, and these Group 2 cars, they're very strongly dependent on aero, as JiiRabbit seems to be bringing this in. Cowboy takes away P1. He's 3/10ths up on Cartman, and I'm not sure that JiiRabbit will have enough to beat that wonderful result from Funniest Cowboy. So Group 2 cars very dependent on aero and therefore very sensitive to dirty air. At this sort of distance, JiiRabbit might be getting a little hampered by H-Boss in front of him as he navigates the final corner. He gets on the grass a little bit. The traction control system gets activated, and yeah, it's a 112.3. It's a good result from JiiRabbit. JiiRabbit, but it's only enough for P3 for now, as Vlive is now in P7, navigating this first corner. And yeah, you can already tell, keeping these cars on track and not violating track limits is going to be a bit of a challenge. Not so much, this isn't so much about receiving penalties for the guys, but more about just keeping the car on the track, keeping those tires clean and maintaining maximum grip. All right, I've seen that some of the drivers have already pit, such as Cartman. Funniest Cowboy is pitting right now. JiiRabbit will probably do another lap. Let's see what the split for him is going to be at the end of this sector. Teovo has improved and is in P5 now. Lenz is 6th. Flapjack is 4th, doing very well in contrast to some of his more recent results. This is more like his performance in race 1. So good job by Flapjack. Lenz improves now to a P5, and I was watching JiiRabbit, but he wasn't on track. Yeah, he wasn't on course for an improvement, and he dives into the pits. We can join Cartman on board as he navigates another lap, and ooh, it's close to his current best. He's just 45 1,000ths of a second down on his best time. Now 68 1,000ths, so he isn't bringing in that improvement, and he needs to find 3/10 to fight with Funniest Cowboy for pole position. Oh, good evening, Mark. I can see you're working tonight. That's unfortunate, mate, but thanks for joining the broadcast. We're missing you. I hope you'll be with us for the next one. So let's see what Cartman does at the end as, ooh, he takes that very wide, right up to the limit. Is it going to be an improvement for him? It is an improvement for him, but it's still a 112 flat, and there's still 3/10 in it between him and Funniest Cowboy. As Flapjack improves, and he's down at 12.5, which is a good result. He beats Lenz by less than a 10th, and he's only 132 thousandths away from JiiRabbit, so all to play for, and it feels like out of the qualifying sessions that we've had so far this season, this is the one where JiiRabbit isn't looking as dominant as we're used to. The tiniest bit of improvement from JiiRabbit there, as he's up by 5,000ths of a second on his own personal best. And it stays 5 1,000ths. That's incredible precision and consistency from JiiRabbit. 2 splits in a row, same result. Let's see how he navigates this part. Oh, and he's now up by 1,000th. Bring it in. Brands Hatch is, of course, a legendary track. Lots of history here, as JiiRabbit is still up on his own personal best, but Funniest Cowboy seems to have had a very strong Sector 4, I believe, that's on this track. So JiiRabbit is still up by 3/10 on his own time, but is it enough to beat Funniest Cowboy's pole? Yes, it is. He beats him by almost 2/10, so I take it back. JiiRabbit proves me wrong once again by showing a dominant performance and improving, taking provisional pole. So we're now down to a 111.5 from JiiRabbit, and his 2 closest rivals are Cartman and Funniest Cowboy, neither of which seems to be on a better lap at the moment. And I'm wondering if these guys will be diving into the pits. That's what they are doing, yes. While Gadget is out on track looking for an improvement, but currently only finding enough pace for P9. So let's see who's where. GTO is in 11th, currently improving on a 13.6. Luco is in 10th, almost 1.7 seconds down on the leader, but finding some good pace, a 4/10 improvement provisionally. We can stay with him until the end of this lap and see whether he brings that improvement in. For those of you watching online, of course, remember to drop a like if you're enjoying the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're still new. Most of our content is, of course, in Ukrainian, but we bring you these broadcasts of the ADEC Championship every second Thursday in English. So, Luko completes his lap, and he's up to P6 on a 1:12.6. That's a good result. He's just a second away from pole, and I saw an improvement from GTO. He's up in 9th, relegating Gadget, our host, to a rather distant P11. So it's Gadget from HBoss, from GTO, from Vlive, Teovo. That's a little low from Teovo. I would expect an improvement still. Luko, Lenz, Flapjack, who is finding a lot of pace in this Group 2 car, and then Cartman, Funniest Cowboy, and, oh, surprise, surprise, JiiRabbit on provisional pole. The timer is approaching 12 minutes out of our 15-minute session, so not long to go now, and I think those who are pitting now are getting ready for their final runs. JiiRabbit is starting a flying lap right now, and we have the privilege of joining him for it. An incredibly tricky first corner, and I wonder if that was lag on my end, but it seemed like JiiRabbit was on course for the gravel trap, but somehow he saves it at the last minute, and he's up by a 10th in the first sector. And that's good work on the accelerator from JiiRabbit as he finds a lot of speed through these flowing corners. Lenz improves to P4, but JiiRabbit is still on a flyer. He's up on his best time, and we remember he wasn't particularly great in the section of the track that's coming up. Funniest Cowboy seems to have been faster there, but now he's finding more speed, more time. He's up by 1.5 tenths at this stage. Now he has to navigate these tricky corners. He mounts the curb on the inside through the right-hander. Now another right-hander, and I feel he was up on the grass there. What's it going to be? He's up by 3 tenths as he approaches the final sector of the lap. He just needs to bring this in. This will be a low 1:11 from JiiRabbit, putting him some 4 tenths away from his closest rival, from Funniest Cowboy. He hugs the inside line now as he crosses the line, and it's an improvement, but he's lost a bit of time. It's a 1:11.3 from JiiRabbit, and I might sound a little disappointed. That's just the high standard that we've come to expect from JiiRabbit. Do his rivals have any answer to this sort of pace? What is Cartman doing? He's very close to Funniest Cowboy, fighting for P2, but he is not bringing in an improvement. Does he still have time? And crucially, does he still have the tire life to find an improvement? He's not pitting because it's too late to do that. Cartman, I think, is on course for only P3 and the second row on the grid. That does not spell well for his hopes of fighting JiiRabbit for the championship. Funniest Cowboy is starting his final lap right now. He's timed this well. We're in minute 15, so his tires are as fresh as they're going to be after one out lap. Let's follow Funniest Cowboy, and he does bring in the first sector. Less than a 10th in it, but he is ahead of JiiRabbit. We remember this wasn't a perfect lap from JiiRabbit, so if Funniest Cowboy hooks it up, as he is so far, he's up by 2 tenths, but the car gets a little squirmish on the exit. Will that have cost Funniest Cowboy a lot of time? Let's see. As he gets to the split, yeah, he's up on his own time, but he is losing to JiiRabbit right now, and he does get on the grass. This was where JiiRabbit wasn't particularly strong, but I don't get the impression that Funniest Cowboy is doing a great job. Let's see what the split is going to be like, because commentators can be very silly about these things. And yeah, Funniest Cowboy is up on his own time, but he is nowhere near the pace that JiiRabbit had at this point in the lap. He rounds out the final corner, and what's it going to be for Funniest Cowboy? Will he find an improvement? He hugs the inside line just as you do, and it is an improvement, and he's down by 5/1000ths of a second to JiiRabbit. It was incredibly close, and JiiRabbit must have left some pace on the table in that final section of the lap, because Funniest Cowboy was able to get so close, tantalizingly close to him, but he doesn't beat the reigning champion. It was an incredible qualifying session as Cartman has already completed his one. Cowboy finds pace to bring himself up to P4. Lenz is in P5. Flapjack ends up in P6. He might be a little disappointed as he seemed to be on course for P4, but still a very good result. Vlive is in P7. Luco is just about to finish his final lap. Let's see what it is. He needs to beat a 112.6 and he doesn't, so he stays P8. GTO is 9th. HBoss is 10th, and Gadget, our host, rounds out the field in P11. Wow, I got properly excited with that qualifying session. So JiiRabbit takes pole once again this season, but funnily enough, only for, I believe, the third time. No, second time this season, as he wasn't on pole in race 2. So joining him on the first row of the grid will be Funniest Cowboy, once again, just like in race 2. Cartman and Teovo are on row 2. Then comes Lenz and Flapjack, Vlive and Luco, GTO and HBoss on row 5, and Gadget seems to have struggled a little bit with his Group 2 Lexus. He will be starting from P11 tonight. All right, we have a few minutes to calm our nerves down, to get prepared. Go grab your favorite snack. Go grab your beverage of choice as we prepare for start. In just a couple of minutes, I'll be with you before the lights go off. All right, your commentator is back. In case you are just joining us, welcome. This is race 4 of season 1 in the Esselit Design Endurance Championship for 2025, brought to you on YouTube by the GT Ukraine YouTube channel. My name is Prototype. We've just finished the qualifying session and we are getting ready for our 1 hour long race. We're at Brands Hatch GP. JiiRabbit from Finland, the reigning champion, is on pole position. No surprise there. And we're going to be taking these Group 2 cars on a pretty lengthy, multiple turn journey around Brands Hatch GP. I've got time right now to talk about strategy for tonight's race. I've heard from some of the drivers that the pit loss time is pretty small on Brands Hatch. So expect multiple pit stops. Drivers will be encouraged to try and take themselves out of traffic and try and take themselves out of dirty air. I mentioned this in qualifying already. These Group 2 cars depend on their aerodynamics pretty strongly, and so following another car is pretty difficult. We've seen this dynamic already in Group 1s. Once the initial fighting on the first lap takes place, the field tends to spread out, and it's very difficult. You need to have a lot of pace over the car you're chasing in order to overtake. So we might expect some undercuts tonight, and it's going to be a pretty long race. I've heard it can be somewhere between 47, 49 laps long in an hour. So we'll be spending quite a while together with you tonight. Go grab a snack, go grab a bottle of your beverage of choice. And we still haven't had the command for starting the race, but I get the impression that it's coming soon. It's coming soon. In the meantime, those of you watching, let me know who you are rooting for, who's your favorite so far. We've got an intense battle in the Teams Championship with GT Ukraine and Team Motion Blur Yellow tied on points, 352 for both teams. JiiRabbit is obviously propping up the results for Motion Blur Yellow with his 3 wins. And the Ukrainians, Cartman and Lenz, are trying to overcome that with sort of consistency. And Cartman, of course, will be hoping to win the race tonight to try and turn this championship around and give himself a chance of fighting for that title come the season end. I can see that there's the starting soon command from our host Gadget, so we are only minutes away from the start of the race. H-Boss, I see you're rooting for yourself. That's wonderful. Everyone needs to believe in themselves. That is a prerequisite of success. Here we go. The countdown has started. We're about to be taken to the grid, and we are about to start our 1 hour long race. Here we go. We're in spectator mode already. I'm bringing up all the extra information. It's JiiRabbit from Funniest Cowboy, from Cartman, from Cowboy, our top 4. I'm looking at the tires. Everyone seems to be on mediums. Yes, the entire field is on mediums, barring Gadget, who's on softs. The lights are on. And we're racing. JiiRabbit seems to get a decent start, just as Cartman, Funniest Cowboy, moves onto the inside, and so does Cartman, but it's nothing going, and Lenz and Teo are having a side-by-side battle, as Lenz is now in P5. I think that stayed the way it was, as GTO dives up the inside and then is collected by Vlive. That was a little chaotic there through the turns, but GTO is now side-by-side with Lenz, but Lenz has the inside line, and seems to me that he will be able to protect it from GTO. There's a lot of fighting here in the second half of the field, as our leaders seem to be... Ooh, there's spicy fighting between JiiRabbit and Funniest Cowboy. They're side by side, but JiiRabbit has the inside line into the swooping right-hander, and that's compromised Funniest Cowboy's exit, and Cartman is sniffing for an overtake. I was discussing this with Cartman the other day. He found it very funny that I'm using the expression to sniff for an overtake. And Cartman, this is what I mean. This is what you look like when I see you in my rear view mirror. You're sniffing for an overtake. That's what I mean. Right, sorry, I needed to show that. So after lap 1, it's JiiRabbit from Funniest Cowboy, from Cartman, from Teo. No change here. Lenz, GTO, who's had that opportunistic move in turn 2. Then it's Luco, then Vlive, then H-Boss, Gadget, and Flapjack seems to have come off the worst out of everything that happened on that first lap. Let's bring up that replay now, shall we? Oh no! Oh yeah, here it goes. It's the wrong timestamp. I'm sorry, I forgot my buttons there for a moment. As the replay just seems to ignore me completely. Anyway, JiiRabbit, Funniest Cowboy, Cartman, Teo, and in this little leader pack, it's Teo who seems to be trying to pressure Cartman early on in this race. But Cartman is also pretty close to Funniest Cowboy. They're all on the mediums. Literally everyone is on the mediums. So I think we're entering that part of the race where strategy just has to play out, so to speak, and then we'll see how it goes. give me a minute here as I... Yeah, so I'm just remembering my buttons here for the replay. I'm sorry. Somehow I've reset very nicely over the last 2 weeks, and I don't remember how to do my job in this commentator role anymore. Well, at least Flapjack is not damaged, so he can just carry on and hope to be back, as Gadget on his softs, of course, is trying to maximize their performance. He is pressuring H-Boss. Let's go on board. He is pressuring H-Boss. He's got a great view of the battle in front of him, and while the tires are still decent, he needs to find a way past. He's slipstreaming. He's on the inside. He is not alongside H-Boss, and Gadget does the sensible thing and backs out of it before anyone gets hurt. Oh, as GTO in front seems to have had a bit of a moment. He's down into P9 now from the lofty heights of P6 that he occupied a little while ago. And I wonder what... Oh, as he's mowing the grass, and yeah, Gadget can find a way past him pretty easily. So all of those early gains now undone, unfortunately, for GTO. I note that it's Gadget's teammate Vlive who seems to be at the front of this little train here of Vlive, H-Boss, and Gadget. I'm sure no one is asking Vlive to hold H-Boss back, but he is inadvertently helping his teammate Gadget to find a way past the Goch driver. Ooh, did I cut away? No, Gadget, it seemed to me as I was thinking about changing the camera that Gadget was about to dive up. H-Boss is inside, but that didn't materialize. And we're seeing this, so Gadget is on the better tire. He has a lot of performance over H-Boss, but this is a track that doesn't lend itself to easy overtaking, especially in these high downforce cars. I don't tire of repeating that Group 2 cars are very dependent on their aerodynamics, and so following another car closely, as Gadget is doing at the moment, is first of all difficult, second of all intense on the tire. So Gadget will want to find his way past H-Boss quickly while his tires are still better. His plan for the race seems to be to start well on the softs and move up in these early stages. I see two cars close to each other, and it's Vlive and Luco fighting over P6. Both are on the mediums, and Vlive is very close. To me, this is indicative that in clean air, he would have the pace over Luco, but he does need to navigate the dirty air and find a way to pass without wasting too much time. At the front, it's as we were. JiiRabbit from Funniest Cowboy, from Cartman. Teovo might have made a mistake somewhere, because he's now over 2.5 seconds behind Cartman. And then Lens is once again in his position of P5. Lens is a mainstay when it comes to P5s. That's where he finished in the first 2 races of the season. And then he had an outstanding P3 last time out. How is that fight going between Luco and Vlive? Still as they were, but Vlive seems to be as close as ever to me. We can join him on board as he's waiting perhaps for a mistake from Luco or for a very obvious opportunity to make a pass. Yeah, but that exit didn't work out very well for Vlive. He's a little further back. He will need to try and reduce that gap once again as he's chasing down Luco for P6. How is H-Boss and Gadget doing? Same here, and Gadget's softs, we have to be honest, that front left isn't looking great anymore. So he'll be probably right now in tire nursing mode rather than full attack. I've heard some drivers tell me that 7 laps is about as long as the soft stays productive, and it starts losing a lot of pace after that. So Gadget is just about to start his 7th lap on the softs. I get the impression that Flapjack has reduced his gap to GTO, but still not at striking distance just yet. So at the front, this is, I think, a bit of a strategic battle at the moment. They're all at around the same distance towards each other, so it's 1.5 seconds from JiiRabbit to Funniest Cowboy, and then 1.2 from Cowboy to Cartman. And I think Cartman especially might now be considering an undercut. 1 lap earlier than his rivals, 2 laps earlier than his rivals, out of the dirty air of the car in front, he would be probably driving faster. Will he be the one to pull the trigger, or will it be Teovo, for example, from behind? He can still challenge Cartman, I think, or even Funniest Cowboy with a well-positioned undercut. From my conversations with the drivers, I've heard that 12 to 13, maybe 14 laps is as far as the mediums can go without really losing pace. So not at the moment. For now, the drivers will just be circulating, as we note that JiiRabbit's front left is perhaps the worst. Yeah, it's in the worst condition out of the top 3 drivers. Nothing dramatic, just a slight difference. Perhaps a difference in weight distribution for the Lexus. But we'll have to monitor this little situation here, as we also have to note just how much faster the top 4 are circulating than the other drivers on track. So the top 3 is a group. Then there's Teovo, who's now 3 seconds behind Cartman, so he seems to be losing out consistently. Then it's Lenz, who is almost 5 seconds behind Teovo, and then a significant gap, 5.5 from Lenz to Luco, and Luco himself is already 16.5 seconds behind the leader. And then we have a wonderful little group over here, headed by H-Boss, and there he goes. Gadget dives into the pits after 8 laps. GTO has scored a penalty somewhere, and let's go and join Gadget in the pits and see how much he loses, by the way. I should have noted what the gaps were, but yeah, he doesn't seem visually too far from Flapjack, so they were all in a group together, and now he's 8.5 seconds behind Flapjack, and he has changed over to the mediums. So that was 8 laps on the softs for Gadget. We note that down for ourselves as we keep watching the race. If anyone considers a pit stop onto the softs, it seems that 8 laps is as far as it can go. How are these boys doing? H-Boss is still at the front of this train. He was chased by Gadget before, but now Gadget is out of this little picture. GTO, after a very strong start, is now losing. He's obviously finding it a little difficult to handle the tire wear. And he serves his penalty, but it is not enough for him to lose the position to Flapjack. Let's join him on board. Yep, now Flapjack, I'm afraid, has missed his opportunity for an overtake. Or has he, as GTO navigates that corner quite poorly. Will there be an opening? Oh, that would have been opportunistic if Flapjack went for it, and he did the wise thing by pulling out of that move. GTO is struggling. That car doesn't seem to be turning as well as even Flapjack, who we are on board with. Could it be that the front engine Lexus is harder on its front tires? That makes sense to me, actually, against the mid-engine NSX that Flapjack is driving. as we have our first pit. It's the first pit for Cartman. He is pulling the trigger. This is an undercut. This is not enough. I mean, he has only done 10 laps on the medium tires. They can certainly go deeper, and he's now 12.8 seconds behind the leader. I feel he was in contact with Lenz to make sure that he doesn't end up behind his teammate, and this has worked out perfectly for Cartman. He is now chasing that down, the leader, and even in the couple of corners that he's done, he's already reduced the gap. It's now down to 12.3, 12.2. He will be looking at that gap, and this is a crucial moment for Cartman, Teovo, Funniest Cowboy, and JiiRabbit. Will they respond? I would expect JiiRabbit, especially with the front-engine Lexus, who is clearly losing out to Funniest Cowboy. I would expect that these two should respond to what Cartman is doing. No, JiiRabbit is staying out. Funniest Cowboy is staying out. What is Teovo doing? He's in a front-engine Nissan as well. He's staying out. What about Cartman? The gap is now down to 12 seconds flat, so he has been able to compensate by 8/10. That won't be enough for him to challenge the leader, but perhaps Funniest Cowboy in second. Cartman could jump him for track position, and we've seen just how valuable track position is on this track. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I feel this is a crucial turning point in the race, and Cartman is doing the strategic thing, showing that he's not just a fast driver, but also a quick thinker. What's happening behind? H-Boss is still at the front of this train. GTO is still in 9th. Flapjack is in 10th. No change here. Gadget is 36.5 seconds behind the leader, but reducing the gap to Flapjack. It was around 8 seconds when he emerged from the pits. It's now 5.8. So clearly, fresh tires are doing their job. Is JiiRabbit pitting now? Yes, he is. He does pit at the end of lap 12. Funniest Cowboy inherits the lead. What is Teovo going to do? He's into the pits as well. Cartman doesn't seem to have taken any fuel, so it's Cartman against JiiRabbit. JiiRabbit is pulling out of the pits right now, and Cartman is close, but he's not close enough to challenge, so JiiRabbit keeps his position, and Teovo, meanwhile, pits onto the softs. So we now have divergent strategies. JiiRabbit is on mediums, Cartman is on mediums as well, and he pit a little earlier to try and undercut, while Teovo, who was originally in P4, is now on the softs. What is he going to do with those softs? And question is, how long is Lenz expecting to take those mediums? They don't look fresh anymore at all. Well, this is exciting. We're not getting a lot of side-by-side and wheel-to-wheel action, but the fight is on, and you can see the drivers putting on their strategy hats and trying to cook something up, as Teovo is now on the tail of Lenz. I expect Lenz will be pitting at the end of this lap and setting Teovo free, but for now, he's losing time. He's definitely, the Finn is losing time behind the Ukrainian, and no, Lenz stays out. What is he playing at, staying out for so long? That medium is obviously past its optimum, but Lenz is deciding to carry on. I feel this is just a matter of time until Teovo finds his way past Lenz, but Lenz doesn't seem poised to just give this one away. Yeah, he is defending, he is crossing those lines with Teovo, and I feel, is this going to be it? No, Lenz still pulls. Yep, and his NSX still pulls, but it seems that now they're side by side. Here we go. We're in chase cam. Will Teovo brave it on the outside? That would be, oh, that is unfortunate. I think Lenz acknowledges his mistake. He was rather at fault back there, and how far is this replay? The replay function is not working for me today at all. I'm terribly sorry. But Lens was on the inside, Teovo was on the outside, and it seems that Lens just had his tires were too bad to give him the grip to be able to navigate that corner, and now he definitely needs to pit, is Lens. Yes, the indicator is on. He is... What? Okay. I don't know what Lens is doing at this point. He isn't pitting. He seems to be extending the mediums. He's now in P6, losing positions, and this just all feels a little downhill for Lens right now. Right, I got a little excited back there and mixed up my buttons, but we're back. So Vlaiv is now pressuring Lens for P6. Lens is on incredibly old mediums as Funniest Cowboy pits from what was originally P1, but very quickly turns into P3. And I'm wondering if Funniest Cowboy might be trying to do one pit stop fewer than JiiRabbit and Cartman. So Cartman pit very early on lap 10 as Luco pits as well. But now Cowboy and Luco, they're pitting at the end of lap 15. They could actually turn this into a 2-stop, I think, while Cartman and JiiRabbit seem to be on a 3-stop as Luco scores a penalty for crossing the line at the pit entrance. Lens seems to have been passed by Vlaiv. What is... Okay, I apologize. There we go. Alright, I've worked out the way this is meant to operate. Something seems to have changed in the controls for the replay function, so apologies for the random way the replay works for me today. So I think Lens is doing the same thing as Cowboy and Luco, a little bit ahead of him, extending the mediums. Could he be on a 2-stop strategy? Because we're now 20 minutes into this 60-minute race, and yeah, I guess if Lens pits now, it makes a 2-stop possible with just medium would be his strategy. And yes, he pulls into the pits finally on the 21st minute. So that's Lens into the pits, onto the mediums. I think everyone at this stage has been into the pits at least once. And the situation is JiiRabbit's in first, Cartman's in second, on what I suspect is some form of 3-stop. Funniest Cowboy is in third on what could possibly be a 2-stopper, and Teovo went from mediums to softs, so I'm not quite sure what he's doing in terms of the number of stops he wants to do. Luco and Vlaiv are locked in a battle now for P5, as Lens sort of disappeared from this little picture with his very late stop. But if he's pulling a 2-stop, we might see him somewhere around these positions again come the end of the race, as Luco scores a penalty. But I'm not sure that Vlaiv is close enough to capitalize. Let's stay with this little fight. So Luco slows down, but it's too short of a penalty for him, yeah? And Vlaiv cannot find a way through. Right, behind them, there's a fight between Flapjack and Gadget, but this is a little artificial because Flapjack is also one for extending his mediums, while Gadget is already on his second stint, having started on the softs. GTO is in 9th, he's on relatively fresh mediums, as is H-Boss, and Lens is in P11 behind them all. I'm just going to test something with the replay while I'm here. Right, this makes perfect sense now. Maybe it isn't the controls, maybe it's just me. Anyway, Back to the race. JiiRabbit is in P1. The reigning champion, 3 wins in a row, seems to be on course, at least to me, to score well, if not win. Cartman tried the undercut, and it seemed to me like it was working, but now he's 2 seconds behind the leader on a noticeably more worn set of mediums, so this is interesting. Funniest Cowboy behind seems to be saving time by doing 1 pit stop less, and as it stands right now, he would be on course to end up in front of JiiRabbit with the current gap. I mean, it still depends on whether he can do a good enough pace compared to JiiRabbit, whether he doesn't find himself in traffic at any point in time. But it's pretty obvious that JiiRabbit, Cartman, and Funniest Cowboy are in a little bit of a league of their own, as Teovo on the softs, who is soon to be doing another pit stop, is now 21 seconds behind Funniest Cowboy in 3rd. I'm still a little curious and bewildered by what happened with Lens. He seemed to be doing okay, and then he stayed out on those mediums for so long, and I think that contact with Teovo actually explains why Teovo is so far back. Sent Teovo in a spin. I seemed to notice his car with the corner of my eye, just doing all sorts of things on the grass. So that is why Lens is now so far back. He had to wait, believing that he was at fault, probably rightfully so. And that also kind of upset the race for Teovo. So as it stands, JiiRabbit, Cartman, and Funniest Cowboy all seem to be contenders for victory, as actually Funniest Cowboy has reduced his gap to JiiRabbit. It was 7.5 seconds before, now it's 6.3, 6.4. So as JiiRabbit's tires are becoming more and more worn, Funniest Cowboy, who extended his previous stint, is looking faster, and this might spell trouble for JiiRabbit and Cartman. If Funniest Cowboy is on a strategy where he's about to make fewer pit stops, he could be on for a win. Then, a long way behind them, Luco, Vlive, and Teovo. Yes, Teovo has just pit. Seem to be in a fight for best of the rest and P4, with Teovo looking strongest and best placed to take it away from the others. Gadget is in P7, but he's on worn mediums. He's a little out of sync with everyone else, as GTO, H-Boss, and Lens are all doing well on their different degree of worn tires, as Cartman pits again. Cartman is disregarding any sort of tire saving, and he's just choosing to pit very early on, very short stints from him. So he's already pit twice. We're only around the 27th minute. So a 4-stop for Cartman, a 5-stop for Cartman. I'm a little lost right now as to the strategic landscape of this race, but what I know is Cartman seems to be on the most aggressive strategy with the shortest stints. JiiRabbit is on something more conservative, and Funniest Cowboy is on the most conservative option of them all. The thinking behind Cartman's approach is the pit loss is so small, I might as well do 1 or even 2 extra pit stops in order to guarantee good pace. Well, let's see if it works out for Cartman. He is now 11 seconds behind the leader. The pit loss seems to be around 8 8.5. That's how far you need to be in order to end up in front of the car you're having the battle with. So an interesting one as we approach the halfway mark in this 1 hour race. Oh, H-Boss is putting Gadget under severe pressure now, and I feel Gadget is slowing them all down, and Lens is getting involved as well. Let's join Lens on board as Gadget is indicating that he's heading for the pit stops, and they all manage to navigate this situation with quite a bit of grace. I have to give credit where credit is due. That was much more intense, but the guys found a way to navigate it quite well. So Gadget pits and Lens carries on harassing H-Boss. I can't find a better word for this. H-Boss's tires are seriously more worn. They're both in the same car, so this is just about tire performance and skill. As JiiRabbit pits from P1, Funniest Cowboy, of course, inherits the lead. But where is Cartman going to be relative to JiiRabbit? This is going to be close, and Cartman passes JiiRabbit for, I guess, the net lead of the race. I'm a little unsure, but that seems to be what's happened here. Cartman is ahead of JiiRabbit. They seem to be on generally the same strategy, the two of them. So now Cartman is in the net lead, and this might be a great setup for a good fight between our two championship contenders. JiiRabbit is in P1 in the championship. He's the defending champion from last season. Cartman is his closest challenger. And if Cartman has any hopes of winning the championship this season, he needs to be turning it around with a win tonight. Meanwhile, Funniest Cowboy could also be winning this one because he's set to be doing one less pit stop. So him and Cartman and JiiRabbit might need to do the same number of pit stops at this point, or they will have to do one more. I'm a little lost. So this might be actually going Funniest Cowboy's way until the final pit stops play out. I won't be sure. Behind them, Luco is in P4. Teovo is in P5. He's found a way past Vlive, who used to be in P5, and Vlive might have made some sort of mistake, because he seems to be a little far away from Teovo and Luco. Oh, and he's pitting. So that makes it all very clear. H-Boss and Lens are still locked in battle. We find them exactly as they were when we left them to see what the leaders were up to. And this is now a comeback, a fight back from Lens. He was, as he drives, the track isn't quite there, mate. That is the gravel trap as he goes out very wide in turn one. So Lens was one of the drivers who took their first set of mediums very deep into the race. He might be aiming for a two-stop, and that might just be what brings him back into this race. He will clear H-Boss eventually. The two drivers ahead of him are a little too far away, but a P6 is on the cards still for Lens, and considering how this race has gone, I think he will take it. Any more fights behind him? Live is on a fresh set of mediums. He's just pit. Flapjack is also doing the same thing as Lens, so his mediums is second. Second set of mediums is still pretty fresh. Gadget is on another set of mediums, and his indicator is still on, but he won't know because he's racing in his VR headset. And finally, GTO is in 11th, about to get lapped by Funniest Cowboy. By the way, this reminds me that lapped traffic was a bit of a theme in the last race in Group 4 cars. Cartman, I believe, submitted even a protest to the stewards obviously complaining about how he got held up by lapped traffic. In Group 2 cars, I keep repeating, they're super dependent on aerodynamics, so actually navigating lapped traffic, unless it helps you out, can be even trickier than it was in Group 4, and that's what Funniest Cowboy has just done, and now Cartman is up trying to lap GTO, and I have to mention that the gap between Cartman and Funniest Cowboy is now down to 2.3 seconds. I think it was about 5 seconds a couple of laps ago, so obviously Cartman's fresh tires giving him the advantage to close in on Funniest Cowboy. Except for the top 3 and H-Boss, who is now pit and was locked in... hold on. Yeah, and was locked in a bit of a fight with Lenz. The entire field is quite spread out, you have to say. So these Group 2 cars are somehow proving even more tricky than the Group 1s were, and field spread is pretty strong. But the fight for the lead is incredible. We're 34 almost minutes into the race, and it's anyone's bet as to who's going to win. Funniest Cowboy seems to be betting on strategy, and for now I would say that it's working because he's ahead of the guys who will probably be pitting one more time than him. So it's looking good for Funniest Cowboy, but I'm a little confused still as to how many times Cartman and JiiRabbit still need to pit. So this might be an easy one for Funniest Cowboy, actually, if he is able to maintain pace. Cartman and JiiRabbit are closing in on him, but not as dramatically as perhaps they would hope, and overtaking is so difficult that perhaps prioritizing track position by staying out longer, extending those stints, it might have been the right call. But we won't know. We won't know literally until this race finishes, or until at least all the pit stops play out. For now, it's anyone's guess. Here's a fight. It's between GTO and H-Boss for P10. Both are actually on very comparable tire life, but I see that H-Boss has already fueled up his car while GTO hasn't. So eventually, when GTO pits, he will spend a longer time in the pit stall. I wonder if from H-Boss this might have been an attempt to take himself out of nasty traffic and find a bit of clean air, and I can imagine his frustration now being stuck between GTO after taking the pain of fueling up. The battle for the lead is heating up. I've been hoping to see an actual on-track battle for the lead, but I would never have guessed that it would come in Group 2 machinery. But here we are. Cartman is pressuring Funniest Cowboy. Now, this is aided by strategy, of course. Cartman and Funniest Cowboy are doing different stuff with their tires as Cartman dips his wheel onto the grass and he drifts out and he gets damage as well. Damage from contact with the wall. Let's activate that replay and hope it works. Yes, it says, here is Cartman. It's chasing Funniest Cowboy, and he just, I think he got a little unsighted because he was following another car, and then, oh my god, the damage and the contact with the wall is just so unfortunate. That is disaster for Cartman, who isn't going to lose too much time per se from the damage, but it really puts him in an awkward position. What does he do now? Does he pit once more? Does he try to compensate by doing that? Well, I mean, he can't stay out. Yeah, he is pitting, and I wonder how Cartman is going to adjust his strategy now. Somehow the damage seems to have cured and limited itself to just front bumper. He is fueling up as well, as you would. He still has 22.5 minutes to go until the end, and he takes another set of mediums and fuels up to 34%. Well, I wonder what it is for Cartman now, as Funniest Cowboy is now under pressure from JiiRabbit. JiiRabbit inherits P2 from Cartman. Oh, that was a nasty accident, not something that Cartman would have wanted. So Funniest Cowboy's tires are very clearly going away. If he's thinking about a two-stop, he probably needs to take them just a little bit further, somewhere around 40 minutes into the race, so maybe 1 or 2 laps more until he can safely pit until the end. JiiRabbit will also definitely need to pit once more, as Funniest Cowboy pits. JiiRabbit will need to pit once more. Yeah, and that should probably do it. If it's a 47-minute race, well, he can probably stay out another 4 or 5 laps. 45-lap race. He can probably stay out for another 3 or 4 laps. Yeah, and then do another set of mediums until the end. So I wonder what Cartman will have to do now. Will he have to take this set of mediums until the end and end up in some sort of weird hybrid where he was doing very short stints but now a very long stint for the end? Cartman didn't help himself, I'm afraid. I'm afraid this is curtains for him, and P3 in this race is going to be the best thing that he can hope for. Luco, meanwhile, pits, and I assume this might be his final pit of the race. Lenz is pitting as well, so he didn't take this second set of mediums as deep into the race as the first one. So everyone's pitting, everyone's fueling up. This puts Luco into P7, 1 minute behind the leader, and in front of him is Flapjack, who still needs to pit. Everyone in front of Luco effectively still needs to pit, either because of tires or, in most cases, because of fuel. JiiRabbit, meanwhile, has found a way. Oh, he didn't find a way past Funniest Cowboy. Funniest Cowboy pit. And, yeah, Funniest Cowboy is definitely going until the end on these tires. He's sort of out of sync with JiiRabbit, and JiiRabbit's tires seem to be in a state where Funniest Cowboy is actually faster. So once JiiRabbit fuels up, we will get to see what the final provisional net standings are. Cartman, I get the impression, will be pitting once more. He's not fueled up his car, the same as the people around him, so he's just pushing. He will want to push, he will want to get closer to Cowboy for now, and then maybe a final stint on the softs won't hurt, as Teovo behind him is 9.5 seconds away, but he still needs to pit as well. Have we got any on-track fights? No, Live is in clean air. Flapjack, well, Luco is close to Flapjack. They're less than 1.5 seconds away from each other. Luco has pit, Flapjack hasn't, so it's a bit of an artificial fight. Luco will be ahead eventually. Gadget is in P8. He's low on fuel, so he will be pitting once again. Lenz seems to be fueled up to go until the end. And, oh my words, something is definitely not quite okay with that corner for the GT Ukraine boys. Let's have another look at how Lenz navigates this. And I think this will be the best camera for us to see. So he brakes very late and the back end gets loose and he drifts it through the corner. gathers it up for the exit. That's a lovely bit of driving, but not particularly fast from Lenz, as I get the impression that that little incident he had with Teovo earlier on really kind of upset him. And I think that was a hello from Lenz. Hi? Well, a lot of button pressing on the wheel with his indicators right and left. So, hi Lenz, I hope you're feeling okay. Doing well, although not as well as we are used to. But this race is still not over yet. Still a lot of strategy to play out. GTO is in 10th. He's on worn mediums, low on fuel. He will be pitting again. And H-Boss behind him has really taken the life out of those mediums. He is not as close to GTO as he was a little while ago. And I get the impression that H-Boss is actually now realizing that he might have needed to save the tires a little bit more if he wants to get to the end without pitting. How is our leader doing? Low on fuel, 17.5 seconds ahead of Funniest Cowboy. Cartman is actually losing out to Cowboy at this stage, and I expect him to pit once more, so I don't think he's genuinely part of the battle for the lead and battle for the win. I think it's between the two Finns, JiiRabbit and Funniest Cowboy. We've seen this once already in race 2. Funniest Cowboy finished less than a 10th, I believe, behind JiiRabbit, but he wasn't able to dethrone the champion. Could it come today? Could the promoted Tier 2 champion beat the defending Tier 1 champion? Imagine the scene. That would be quite an achievement from Funniest Cowboy. Promoted from Tier 2, winning a race in an incredibly competitive Tier 1 field. Luco has now pulled up behind Flapjack. Flapjack is approaching the end of his stint on the mediums, I would expect. So soon, Luco will be released. But for now, Flapjack is in front of him. JiiRabbit pits from the mediums. He is fueling up, and it's a slow fuel up. Funniest Cowboy is now on the straight, and JiiRabbit has just finished fueling up now. Where is he? Oh, he's behind even Cartman. So this has been turned on its head. Funniest Cowboy is now the net leader. He has track position over JiiRabbit, who is now a little less than 5 seconds behind him. JiiRabbit will have the advantage of fresher tires. He only needs to do 15 minutes on his mediums, as opposed to Funniest Cowboy, who's doing 20, and that front left has already lost about a quarter of its performance. Cartman is probably not part of this picture, as he will probably need to pit again for fuel, I think. Although now, no, but he has to, of course. JiiRabbit and Funniest Cowboy have so much more fuel than Cartman, so he will probably be pitting, right? I'm not speaking out of you know where. Anyway, so it's between JiiRabbit and Funniest Cowboy, and the question is, can JiiRabbit chase down Cowboy, and can he then pull off an actual on-track overtake? And those have been problematic. Those have been difficult to achieve today, as JiiRabbit navigates traffic in the form of Gadget. That's all good. Let's look behind them. Teovo is pitting. He was on the softs again. I feel Teovo recognizes that he's in no man's land. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He's under no pressure, no threat from Luco behind, so he might as well circulate on the softs, put in that fastest lap, take away the extra 4 points from the guys in front of him. He emerges safely in P4, and that will be him on the mediums until the end of the race. Luco is on a worn set of mediums, but he seems to be going until the end with them. He has enough fuel to try and do that. Flapjack has still not pit, and Luco has found his way past him, obviously. So Flapjack will probably be pitting soon, and I would guess that this will be a pit onto the softs for a bit of a hurrah at the end. Vlive is in P7 on mediums. He's fueled up to go until the end, and he's not being challenged by Lens behind him, who is doing a longer stint. He seems to be fueled up enough to get to the end of the race, so a bit of a damage limitation for Lens today after that unfortunate incident. Oh, HBoss in P9 finds himself sandwiched between the leaders now as JiiRabbit is trying to navigate him. And yeah, he lets JiiRabbit go nicely, I would say, without impeding him too much. Gadget is in P10, he's fueled up to go until the end as well. And GTO rounds out the field in P11. It's unfortunate for Gadget, but a poor qualifying session, and he was out of sync with everyone in terms of strategy. This just hasn't come together for him. He's had a bit of a poor 2 races now, but Gadget will just need to put this behind him and focus on the next one. Flapjack pits. He goes down the positions. Lens will probably be passing him. Yes, he will. So that promotes Lens into P7. Flapjack is... there we go. He's done fueling up. He's on the softs to go until the end. We just have 11 and a half minutes now to go until the timer runs out, and Flapjack comes back on track just ahead of HBoss, who won't be challenging him too much because HBoss's tires aren't looking very well. I think HBoss is probably on for another stop onto the softs as well, just as Flapjack has done ahead of him. What's the situation in the leaders group? Well, Cartman is about to run out of fuel, so I would think that he is close to pitting once again. JiiRabbit is just 2.4 seconds behind Funniest Cowboy now. When Cartman pits, he will be released to chase Funniest Cowboy down for the win in the 10 minutes that remain until the finish. Let me know, guys, those of you watching, will it be JiiRabbit again? Can he chase down Funniest Cowboy and pass him on track? Or will Funniest Cowboy benefit from track position and get his first win in Tier 1? Will the promoted Tier 2 champion prove to be faster than the reigning Tier 1 champion? That's the main intrigue for the 10 minutes that remain in this race. Wow, I can't believe that 50 minutes have gone by. This has been a good race, and I feel like I could have done another hour and not notice the time flying by. Oh, JiiRabbit is incredibly close. He's right on the rear bumper of Cartman. He wants that position. He doesn't want to be wasting time. Both of them are seriously gaining on Funniest Cowboy. That car in front, 1.6 seconds away from JiiRabbit, that is Funniest Cowboy. So those are the visual gaps between the top 3. Cartman will be pitting, and I imagine JiiRabbit must be getting frustrated with why Cartman hasn't pit yet. In front of them, is that Lens getting lapped? Yes, Lens, Cartman's teammate, is now about to get lapped by the leaders. Cartman stays out. JiiRabbit stays behind him. The gap is 1.8 seconds from JiiRabbit to Funniest Cowboy. We are beginning lap 42 out of probably about 47, I feel. I'm not that good at visual math in a high-stakes situation like this, but I think 47 is what we're up to, as Lens is taking his time, letting the leaders by. And Funniest Cowboy's tires are not giving him the performance anymore. I wonder if Cartman is trying to stay out for as long as possible to keep JiiRabbit behind and then hope to be able to catch him on the softs. Could Cartman also be trying to bring himself back into this? It's a short pit loss, but he needs to refuel, so no, I don't think for him to be a part of the picture is still possible, as Lenz takes a very, very radical approach to letting the leaders by, so much so that he's going to come under pressure from Flapjack, who's on softs. So yeah, this is genuine pole position as Cartman pits. So Flapjack on the softs will have the overspeed and the over grip to pass Lenz cleanly, but Lenz stays on the outside and he doesn't give up the position. This is epic fighting, by the way, for P7 from Lenz and Flapjack. Lenz is probably hoping to clean up his tires from that off-track moment and then regain his composure and push and defend again, once again. He is not set. Oh, as Flapjack gives him a bump in the rear left side of the car, and yeah, Flapjack concedes the position, which is the sensible move there, I think. Let's give it a little look. So they exit this corner, and Flapjack, of course, has a lot of overspeed on his softs, and he kind of thinks about it. Oh, yeah, you would say that the door was kind of a little open there from Lenz, so I can understand how Flapjack thought I might give it a little go. It didn't quite work out. It's all very sportsmanly, and Flapjack lets Lenz retake the position. Yes, so Cartman has taken himself out of the picture. He's now 17.5 seconds behind JiiRabbit, but he can still go for fastest lap. This is going to be a valuable thing for him. Not as much in giving him the extra 4 points as denying the extra 4 points from his opponents. But our eyes are on the battle for the victory. It's JiiRabbit against Funniest Cowboy. Cowboy is in front this time out, as opposed to race 2, where he was the hunter. JiiRabbit is now trying to hunt him down, and it all comes down to how well, I think, Funniest Cowboy can take care of his tires in the remaining laps. Can JiiRabbit keep his composure, overcome the dirty air, and find that one opportune moment, maybe to surprise Funniest Cowboy, to find an unexpected place to dive up the inside somewhere? Let's go on board with JiiRabbit. This is what it looks like to him. First corner, really difficult. You need that aero. And you can see his car understeering quite aggressively, but he knows what to do with it, and he closes the gap down quite dramatically, actually. Funniest Cowboy will be thinking about defending. Oh, and they're driving both on the rugged edge, but Funniest Cowboy's tires don't seem to be giving him enough, as JiiRabbit is right on his rear bumper. They navigate this left-hander, and look how close JiiRabbit is. He's actually tapping the bumper of Funniest Cowboy's car. Cowboy is defending the inside line, as he should, as he's perfectly entitled to, and he does stay in front. He parks it on the apex. Nothing going for JiiRabbit for now. JiiRabbit will know that his time is running out. Actually, there's not that many laps to go now. It's a 1:13, 1:14 as he gets close once again. But where do you go with all that speed? He chooses to go on the outside. Funniest Cowboy pinches him, but now he's trying to do the old switcheroo. But Cowboy's car was on the apex. There was nothing going for JiiRabbit there. That was a little opportunistic. He was hoping for the undercut, but Funniest Cowboy saw it coming and made sure that his car was physically there, so JiiRabbit could do nothing about it. Cartman has taken away the fastest lap. He is closing the gap down, by the way. He's just 13 seconds behind the two leaders, but I'm afraid there isn't going to be enough time. I think we are still up for We can complete this lap and then maybe 2 or 3 more. That's how long Funniest Cowboy needs to keep this defense up. I think he kind of unsettled JiiRabbit with that little episode. JiiRabbit has not yet caught up, and he is not yet at striking distance. And now, with every second that passes, Funniest Cowboy's chances of winning are growing. This is going to be another exciting grandstand finish. We don't seem to get boring finishes here in ADEC. Race 2 was a real nail-biter between these two, by the way, between JiiRabbit and Funniest Cowboy, and they're treating us to another stellar performance. Yes, we're at 2:45 as we start lap 47, so we are going to enjoy this lap and then probably 2 more. JiiRabbit is once again within striking distance. He's less than half a second away from Funniest Cowboy. The tire situation is not particularly great for Cowboy, and I'm watching on fuel. Both of them are doing about the same. Both are in front engine cars, so it's not like there's a stark difference in weight distribution or anything. It's just a straight fight. Same tire, different condition, same country. Our Finnish viewers, if we have any of those, should be quite excited about seeing this. All right, boys, so this lap, and then 1 more. That's as much as we have to go, as JiiRabbit is once again incredibly close to Funniest Cowboy. He's literally breathing down his neck. Cowboy is defending the inside line. JiiRabbit goes to the outside. Cowboy now tries to pinch him, but has Cowboy overcooked it? No, it's all good. He finds the right line. He stays within the boundaries, and it seems like a bit of a desperate situation for JiiRabbit unless Cowboy makes a mistake, unless he can spring a surprise. It feels like Cowboy has this covered. He knows how to defend. He knows where to put his car not to let JiiRabbit pass. Let's go back on board. This is how I would be driving this car. I prefer the hood view. So this is what it looks like to JiiRabbit, probably, and nothing going through this right-hander. The dirty air is just too strong. You know, from the fact that JiiRabbit is so close, you know that he has the pace. He is objectively faster, but Funniest Cowboy has track position. He can defend. He can put his car in all the right places and make it very wide, but he makes a mistake. He slips up on the exit. JiiRabbit is going to be on the outside, and he can try the crisscross move once again, but the car gets a little unsettled. If he were able to accelerate properly, this would have been JiiRabbit's opportunity. But now we're on the final lap, just 17 seconds left on the timer, and Funniest Cowboy exits wide. There's contact, and he's in the wall. Funniest Cowboy is gone. He's doing a 360 into the second corner. His car is damaged, and is JiiRabbit waiting? No, JiiRabbit pushes on, or does he? Or does he? Is this him going full speed, or is he waiting? No, JiiRabbit carries on. JiiRabbit believes that he did nothing wrong in that situation, and he is pressing on. Funniest Cowboy now has damage to the rear bumper. Cartman is 3 seconds behind him. I don't think he will be challenging Cowboy for second, but that is, I have to say, a bit of an anticlimactic resolution to the battle, as some of our drivers have begun finishing. Teuvo finishes P4, and he's the first one to cross the line after the timer runs out. So JiiRabbit, at least provisionally and on track, is set to take the win. And I got so excited that, again, I haven't saved a replay point, so we won't be able to watch a replay of that little incident. And JiiRabbit takes P1, 4th time in a row in the first season of ADEC in 2025. Funniest Cowboy comes home in 2nd, and I feel there will be something for the stewards to look at. Cartman takes P3. It's pretty clear, pretty clear cut to me. Whoa, now that was One hell of a race. JiiRabbit takes the win on track, but I'm not sure what happened there. I'm sincerely not sure whether this result will stand. I'm saving the replay, and you can actually stay with me if you want to have a look at that replay. But the results on track, as they stand for now, are JiiRabbit, Funniest Cowboy, and Cartman are our top three, with Cartman taking the fastest lap and the extra 4 points. Teovo is in fourth. He finishes quite far away after that unfortunate incident with Lens. Luco finishes P5. Vlive is in P6. Flapjack is P7, Gadget is in P8, HBoss P9, Lens finishes 2 laps down in 10th, and he's joined in that company by GTO, who finishes 11th. And you know what? I don't normally do this, but let's go and check out the replay, because that was exciting. There was something happened there between the two Finns, and I want to have a look at it. Let's go and have a look at it. I'm not sure if the tournament organizers will say that this is a good idea, having a look at the replay right after the race. But let's call it race highlights. We have something to catch up with in terms of what happened on lap 1 at the start. We have an incident to look at in the fight for the win. And I will also want to look at what exactly happened to Teovo after he had his contact with Lens. So this is not over yet. We are going to have a look at the replay. Here we go. Here we are. Yes, and we're on the grid. So it all seemed pretty okay for the leaders. Let's have a look. I think something happened around Lens's vicinity and GTO. Sorry, I probably need to change the way the names are displayed. Display driver names, display all. No, it doesn't want to do that, so we're going to be using the nicknames. Come again? So, Lens and one car in front of him, I think that's Teovo, right? Yeah, so Lens and Teovo are about to go into turn 1. Lens, oh, that's unfortunate. He makes contact with his own teammate, and that sets up GTO, who just sails past everyone while they are having their little weird moment. So it was nothing wrong from GTO. He just takes the inside line while everyone sails off. This must have been pretty comical to GTO. He just took the normal line and then he dives up the inside of Lens, causing a bit of a concertina effect as everyone behind him needs to adjust to what he's just done. And then Lens and GTO have a side-by-side battle. This is pretty clean. This is fine. Yeah, and then that's how it stabilizes. Yeah, I believe no more contacts after that. Now, I will have the challenge of finding... Oh my god, and I can't... Wait, yeah, this is what I can do. I can't skip entire laps, but I can still move the slider like this. So Lens's incident happened when he was on very worn tires, and I believe... Yeah, Teovo showed up behind him after pitting, so that's a little further into the race here. Okay, so this is the contact. Yeah, here we go. Right, so Teovo is on fresher tires, he's on softs, and Lens is here. They are having a side-by-side battle. Lens, oh, he just understeers. Look at that. He's on the inside. He hits the brakes, and I think he might have touched the grass or something. Yeah, and he makes contact with Teovo, and oh, that's so unfortunate. Teovo is trying to get back onto the track, and he gets spun. And yeah, all this time Lens is just waiting. Well, that's at least sportsmanlike from Lens. Yeah, so Teovo, just an unfortunate victim. He did nothing wrong. he was perfectly entitled to that outside line, and just Lenz couldn't quite control the car. Yeah, he just understeers into him. That is unfortunate. I don't know. I'm not sure whether the stewards will feel that this merits a penalty. Right, and now we have the most important bit of replay to watch. This is towards the end of the race. What happened between the two Finns? Is this it, or will this come a little later? Ah, this is the first instance, right? Yeah, it's the crossover that... So Cowboy is defending, and JiiRabbit goes for like a crossover move. Yeah, he lets Cowboy go, but Cowboy is aware of it, and he simply blocks the apex. Like, there's nothing wrong that Cowboy has done here. No, it's just... I think, to a certain extent, JiiRabbit was just surprised by the fact that Cowboy was able to stop his car on the apex. So good job, Cowboy here. Nothing of note. And then the contact happens like literally on the final lap, which was this one. Yeah. So oh boy. So what happens is, yeah, so Cowboy kind of understeers. He's on poor tires at this point, so of course it's very difficult for him to keep the car on track. He does a good job here through the final corner, very close to the edge, but still fine. And then I think he brakes a little late, knowing that JiiRabbit is there. He brakes late. He misses the apex by a country mile. But it would have been okay on less worn tires. But then, here's what happens. There's contact... Oh boy. This is difficult. I'm not sure what happened here. So let's just watch it unfold without me commentating too much. Yeah, so JiiRabbit he took the more normal line, so he's not alongside or anything. He's just... His front bumper is... Yeah, at the best, like this far along, so not along at all. And then, is it Cowboy himself who just tries to sort of swerve to the right, or was there some micro contact that sent Cowboy into the wall? Like, I'm sure it's clear to me that JiiRabbit didn't mean anything. It is not intentional or anything, but I can totally see how Funniest Cowboy will be disappointed. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to take. So, that is the race tonight. I've done a bit of an improvised highlights reel for you as well, looking at some of the most interesting incidents. Thank you, guys, for sticking around. This has been a bit of a longer broadcast than usual. As always, I've been Prototype. This has been the GT Ukraine YouTube channel. Subscribe. Feel free to donate. This helps me out a lot. Drop a like to this video, and we will see you again in 2 weeks' time for Race 5 in the Asalit Design Endurance Championship. As always, Slava Ukraini. Take care. Bye-bye.